Thank you all for being here. Our speaker today is Chelsea.
Yay! Hey, Chelsea.
People. Oh, got it. Sorry. The tree is here, so I didn't want to block anyone. I don't have a whiteboard today. Sorry, y'all. I came back last night at 11 from a trip to Missouri. So I'll be speaking today about a young man named Nasanto Antonio Crenshaw. This is the third time I've shared, and each time has been a connection to Greensboro, North Carolina, where I used to live, and this happened this week, so it's fresh. Much is still emerging about the case, so it's unfolding in real time, so we're just sharing what we know to date. So on last Sunday, August 21st, Nasanto Antonio Crenshaw, 17, and three of his friends, who were 14, 15, and 17, were pulled over at a traffic stop. They were driving a stolen vehicle, and the details of which are still unknown. This information is partly from an early police report and partly from Crenshaw's 14-year-old friend, who was in the car throughout the whole thing. How's my volume? Can you all hear? Okay, medium? Okay, I'm hard. All right. So as the officer approached the stopped vehicle, the vehicle fled from the traffic stop. The officer attempted to stop the car again, and multiple occupants fled from it. 2. While the officer was attempting to detain the vehicle and the remaining occupants, 2, the suspect vehicle struck the police car, backed into the police car. Crenshaw's friend later said that they had driven into a dead end and he was trying to back out. The vehicle then accelerated in an attempt to get away, and the officer discharged their weapon, according to his friend, into the neck of the driver, and then shot the driver twice in the chest, who was Nasanto Antonio Crenshaw, so shot 3 times ultimately. And then he was pronounced dead, deceased at the scene. Nikita Crenshaw, who is Nasanto's sister, said that the friend said it wasn't a huge hit, it was backing up to get out at the dead end. And the officer shooting him twice more says, "I feel like you overshot my brother." So, part 2. After hearing the details from the passenger that stayed in the car when Nasanto was shot, Nikita, his sister, desperately wonders why the officer didn't shoot the tires or try to stop her brother in a different way. Right? He was the youngest child in the family and was set to turn 18 this November. Despite being the youngest, Nikita said he always took care of his mother and siblings and often played with his nieces and nephews. He had twins on the way by his girlfriend that are due in March. The family received Nasanto's body on Wednesday and was raising money via GoFundMe to cover funeral costs. So I'll share that link with you, Lexi, for the newsletter. There are some rallies planned over this week in Greensboro for more details about the case. We're trying to stay strong, Nikita said. I can get my cries out during the morning, and in the afternoon and evening I have to make sure I'm strong for my mom because she doesn't have her baby anymore. His room door is closed. She can't yell at him and tell him to turn his TV down anymore. So the details of this is a couple of local activist groups, including a Sunrise Movement chapter, released the name of an officer that they had concluded was the one who shot Nasanto as an officer Y. Ocampos. It turns out that was an officer, Yolanda Campos, who was on duty somewhere else. She wasn't actually the shooter. They haven't released the name of the person who shot, the police officer who shot Nasanto yet. But she has also been getting death threats in Greensboro, in the community. So it's a heavy week, right? It's a complicated week. So I guess part of what I'm holding in this is the importance in some of these cases of holding spaces where there is some gray and some ambiguity. The car was, right, the drivers, that was a stolen car, they backed into the police officer's car. And yet there's another black youth who was dead at the hands of a police interaction. And the legacy of that is so strong that one person may say, this is so tragic, but ultimately it was self-defense. Someone else said, this is very straightforward, you don't shoot to kill. The online forums are obviously, there's a lot of heated discussion about this now. And And I guess my thought in looking at this as it's unfolding for our community is how is it possible to hold these spaces of ambiguity for people with maturity? How do we hold these conversations where there is young people who get into some shit, as probably all or many of us have done, myself certainly, and how do we hold these cases that have some gray in a way where we can actually find each other and don't just dissolve into echo chambers? Is there a way that we can hold each other through that with some maturity, who are practicing this to get to a deeper truth, where the family can be acknowledged, where a mother who's lost her son can be acknowledged? So there's no really particularly there's no big fireworks ending. This case is still unfolding, and we'll keep you posted. And I hope that we can find ways. I hope that I can continue to find ways to hold stories like this with respect, as the family is grieving, and as we continue to make meaning of what is the real learning lesson from this. Thank you all.
Thanks, Joe.